Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Hastinapur, New Delhi, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubh Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to today's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, live from the motherland, India. Yep, packing up. Me and Mara did our last-minute shopping. All day.
Shopping.
All
Oh,
day.
I tell you.
Can't help it. There's lots of you know what I do? You know what I buy when I'm here? Toothpaste. You know how much you can get soap for? I'm like my mom. I'm buying soap. I'm loading my suitcase with packs of Ayurvedic soap. Ridiculous things. Like, you're going to take that home? Yes, I am. Are you kidding? You raise kids, soap costs a lot of money. Shampoo costs a lot of money.
Did you
get all the Ayurvedic stuff cheap?
Did you go to those bookstores? Connaught Circle has his bookstores.
Oh, yeah. I went to some great bookstores today.
Find anything interesting?
William Dalrymple. These are the authors. What did you get? We got a cool book by Shubha Vilas on the Hanuman Chalis.
Okay.
What else we get? I got a cool book. Just like sometimes you can find these cool Indian books on pilgrimages, but they're written by Indians. I got a big full color book on pilgrimage of India, holy places and their significance. Got a book on Varanasi because we're going to Varanasi next year. Cheers. And I got Ayurvedic lip balm. Yes, I did, Sherry Yannick. I got like 7. You know what I always buy in India too? Padlocks. Big ones. They're cool. They're cheap. They're cool. What else do we get today, Mara? Mara got tons of fancy Indian clothing.
Okay. Enough of the shopping.
Okay. Enough of the shopping, truthfully.
Yeah. So you're about to jump on an airplane? What's going on?
After the show, we're going to go out and eat and then get an Uber to the airport.
All right.
And we're out of here. So we're going to do we're going to miss the show tomorrow, but the next day, 8 o'clock, same time for you. We're going to do
8 o'clock. So we'll just say at 8 o'clock this week.
Say 8 o'clock this week because some of these Zoomers can't make it any other time. And I'm sure we're missing some other ones, but it's nice to see the 8 a.m. people. All right. It's nice how we see different people working in their shifts according to their schedule. It's great.
Okay, Raghunath. Now, did you notice that are there any other announcements besides the time?
No. She says no. She's a little off camera today.
All right. Did you notice that I sent you a nugget?
No, I didn't because I have no phone. Oh,
well, on your computer, you could check it, right?
Yeah, I didn't get back until a moment before the show.
Okay.
You got something good for me?
Well, I thought we could get back into the nuggets, start getting back there, because the pilgrimage is winded down.
I got no nugget here, sir.
I sent it to you.
Oh, this is the wrong computer. That's why. I'm looking at Mara's computer.
No.
Want
me to read it?
Send it read the nugget, Kaustubh. You read the nugget.
Okay. So this, I think this nugget, it's from someone that I had never even heard of before. Have you ever, tell me if you've heard of her before. Emily
Dickinson.
Esfahani Smith.
No.
Have you heard of her?
Okay. No.
Emily, she's a writer. Anyways, popular writer. I don't know anything about her. I don't know if I...
You like what she said. Sometimes lesser known people say very significant things.
Well, I thought there was truth in this,
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
This is coming to you fresh, so we can just get your fresh response to it. She writes, or says, the more directly one aims to maximize pleasure and avoid pain, the more likely one is to produce instead a life bereft of depth, meaning, and community.
Ooh.
Shall I read that again?
You went even a little deeper than I thought she was going to go with that. Read that again.
Read that again. Okay. The more directly one aims to maximize pleasure and avoid pain. Now that's the that's kind of like the strategy for maybe majority of people, right? What do you want to do? I want to maximize my pleasure. I want to, as far as
Reduce
possible,
pain. I mean,
avoid pain,
over the
discomfort.
yeah, but now she's going to say, what if you take that to the next level? The next
Yeah.
level of that, like if you really want to optimize it, you're an addict because it's
Okay.
all about your pleasure at anybody else's expense.
Okay. So the more directly that one aims at that is their goal, right? The more directly one aims to maximize pleasure and avoid pain, the more likely one is to produce instead a life bereft of depth,
Sure.
meaning, and community, because it affects your relationships too, right? Obviously.
Well, sure, because you have to depersonalize people.
Yeah,
You
if
have
my
to
pleasure is more
depersonalize
important
them.
than your pleasure, or
Yeah,
if
it's
my
me first
comfort,
and the gimme gimmies.
yeah,
In the name of comfort, what will I do? You
right.
know, who will I just plow through?
So it's kind of good. I felt this was a nice articulation of something that's relates to our postulates. That, like, did we have a postulate about that one? Oh, we did. Maybe we don't.
We have
Maybe
to
we gotta
work
come
on
up
it.
with one.
We got to
Y-
work on our postulate book.
but this that again, that counterintuitive idea that the strategy that just seeking the things that give me pleasure brings happiness, or a satisfying life, doesn't, right? It's not the right strategy.
Yeah.
All right.
I like it. I like it.
Okay. Well, I
You know,
felt
Stu,
this.
I'm suffering a little bit. I'm suffering
What's the
some
matter?
mental anguish today. You know, I tell you.
Want to talk about
Yeah, I do. I do want to talk about it. You know,
it?
you're
Okay.
going through these
Okay, go
streets
for
of
it.
Delhi, and it's just
Yeah.
like these little children begging,
Mm.
holding little children, a little child holding little children, and they're beautiful. And I'm ready to take them all home. Like, I feel like just saying, come with me. Come with me. You know what I mean? I will make you breakfast. I'll scrub your face down. I'll hose you off. I will, you know what I mean? I will parent you. I will. At least one. I'll take one of these children off the streets. And it's like, it's incredibly frustrating.
You could do that.
I know. But it becomes overwhelming because you want to help one, even if you want to give some money to one. There's about 1,000 more behind them. I mean, at least in my initial space, there's like 10 more behind them. And it's like you get frustrated in this world where you realize um I can't help everybody. You can't help everybody. And I and I guess it's try to do for one what you'd like to do for many. Um but it's a little heartbreaking too. It's a little heartbreaking,
Sure.
and you have to really zoom out and not be that insensitive, and at the same time, you know, you almost feel like, what the hell am I doing buying
Ayurvedic
anything?
soap.
Ayurvedic soap. I should just give all the soap to them. It's disturbing, truthfully. It's disturbing. It makes me just want to live in the forest.
I don't know if that would help, Raghunath, but what I
I
do
don't know if
think
it
would
would help
help.
either. I don't know if it would
Yeah.
help
What?
either.
No, but
And I think sometimes everyone's got some karma they have to deal with, but I think to be an introspective person who wants to cultivate a life of giving back and bringing light into people's life, it's like an important thing. It's like a very, very important thing.
what
Let's
exactly is
face it.
important?
Let's face it. There's people who have, and they're sad. There's people with the haves. It's just like the haves aren't necessarily up to their eyes in joy. It's sometimes the haves are the emptiest or the saddest also. Anyway, it's just
Okay.
like it
Well,
stirs stuff around when you see that.
so
You
what
have
do you
more
think is the
comments?
answer?
Um, well, I think what we do, or what we do, we try to give the Bhagavatam away because I think ultimately knowledge can make you happy in any situation. Knowledge actually can make you happy in a miserable situation. You know how we know that? Because we're applying it. We've been applying it to our lives when things are going south quick. And knowledge is our place to take shelter of. And it's not just like turn that frown upside down. It's try to see God's hand in everything that we're getting dealt. Seasons do change in this world. When it's winter, spring's around the corner. But ultimately, I'm not going to be dependent on springtime for me to find joy in my life. My happiness, I don't want to be dependent on somebody else for my happiness and my joy. I want to be able to access that using, spiritual tools, a spiritual toolbox. So I think giving the Bhagavatam and sharing the Bhagavatam, it's considered, according to the Gita, you know, what's the verse that says that?
No
You
one is
must
more
know
dear
this.
to me.
No one is more dear to me, nor am I
I mean,
dear. Say
you,
that,
you know,
say that verse, sir.
he's speaking about the sacred conversation in the Bhagavad Gita and saying that no one is more dear to me than one who teaches this to the devotees. But I
Yeah.
was thinking, yeah, it's not just like I'm not saying that if you go up to a kid begging in the streets of Delhi and say, "Hey, here's the Bhagavad Gita, and now be happy." I don't think that's what we're talking about exactly. Although, in one sense, I appreciate what you're saying. That yeah, the knowledge itself can give one the ability to transcend under all kind of circumstances, right?
No.
But 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 I think to like say what Prabhupada wrote down, Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote down, as the seven purposes of ISKCON, the society that he was establishing.
Mm.
And the first one he writes, and again, he's writing this in his kind of older English and all that, but he says to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life
Mm.
and to achieve real
There's an
unity and
imbalance
peaceful
in
growth, right?
values.
Yeah, that the fact that certain people have so much and certain people have so little, and as a society we can't get together and recognize that this needs to be changed in some way. It means we
Mm.
don't have our values straight, right? There's an imbalance in our values. You take heart, and in saying that, I don't think what Prabhupada is also saying is like, well, we just need to wait till everybody understands spirituality and then we'll fix things. We see that out of his own movement, like particularly in India, like there are huge, food relief programs going on. You know, like I'd
We had a
imagine even
day
in
at
Delhi,
Govardhan.
right?
We had a
Yeah.
day in Govardhan where we refused to eat anything except prasad that was handed out by temples.
Okay.
Because temples just hand out prasad. That's one of the things that
But
devotees like to do. We
and
like to
that's
give sacred food to other people.
a beautiful thing. But I'm
And
talking
so
about
sometimes
things
you
that
have
are
to
like
meet people. Sometimes you have to
hundreds.
meet people where
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah, and I'm talking about like actually organizations currently that have grown out of ISKCON that are distributing literally millions of meals every day.
They're still
In
doing it.
India,
Sure.
yeah, that are going. So it's not that we shouldn't take a practical action to
Mm.
address, and not one person is going to be able to take all those practical actions, and some people are going to make it their life, right? I know
Yeah.
people, people that have said, I'm going to make it my life to feed the hungry,
Yeah. I feel
and
like, you know what?
they're
I
tied
run an
into
organ.
their.
I run a material organization. Why can't I just do this for feeding hungry people?
Yeah, so that's there. And at the same time, on the broader level, there needs to be addressing, trying to elevate the spiritual conversation, trying to elevate the spiritual knowledge, trying to help broader in a broader way society. And it may seem like sometimes we're just chipping away and it's never going to make any difference,
Makes a
but
difference.
I believe it does, and I believe it can manifest in ways that we can't even predict right now. That as sometimes there has to be a bit of a collapse before people really reach for it, but if you
Yeah.
can have if you can solidly present a way of life, and it's not even saying everybody accept our religion, it's saying let's try to look at life more deeply, right? Let's try to understand that there is a spiritual equality of every living being. Let's try to present that in a very rational way and try to understand what the benefits of people embracing this idea is, and then if you can show it practically how this manifests in good ways. And so that's the challenge, of all spiritual groups and spiritual movements, to be able to work together and show models of, hey, if we do recognize, our spiritual essence, if I can recognize it in
Mhm.
you and you can recognize it in me, and we can respect one another, we can all realize, hey, I can be happy living simply. I don't need more than, these the a simple pure life. And hey, we don't need to commit violence to the animals. And hey, we can look out for one another, and we can be happy doing that. And we can throw away our misconceptions of what we actually need to be happy. Then when things do start to collapse, when we see that our strategies aren't working on a mass level, then there's something to reach to. There's examples out there. There's spokesmen and spokeswomen out there. There's models of what we could adopt. And I think that's kind of like the work. That's our work, or the work of people that want to promote spirituality. It's not a religious conversion. It's just a way of life that's based on a deeper insight.
Just the parameters we're attempting to put into our life, the regulation of the senses. That's huge. That could save somebody's life. And when you save one person's life, come on, if you know a person who's addicted to heroin, which is epidemic, or addicted to painkillers, addicted to alcohol, if you can change that, if that one person gets inspired to change their life, think of how many people that addict is taking down, how many people that love them are getting hurt by their addiction and are trying to help them. So it's for sure just the basic. We remember yesterday we're saying you just put your little pinky in the cream of the cake, and you're going to get some benefit. Take that with you. So yeah, it is a good thing that that everything, just spreading the holy name, spreading the philosophy, spreading the lifestyle. And then how do we do that? We do that with the community of people that lift us when we're down, that we lift when they're down. And there's just like different pockets of communities, and they come together.
Yeah.
It's called a festival.
And so like in my own lifestyle, right? But let me put it this way. I think there's these two ways of working, right? One is we're working on trying to spread that Divya Gyana, trying to be a representative of spiritual knowledge, right? Being able to present it, and then ultimately living by it. And living by means, adopting these things that are taught in these books. Like, charity is one of them, that we should be charitable. You're not going to be able to feed every kid in Delhi, but maybe you can feed one. You make that that becomes part of your sacrifice, that you give, that we recognize that, that's all built into the Vedic paradigm, that like, oh, when you're a grihasta, when you're a married person and you have an occupation, a job, and your own home and all that, you're allowed to enjoy life, but you're also, it's considered a dharmic, that if you're not giving, right, if you're not taking responsibility for those that are in need. But there's not a shared understanding of that. There's not enough of a shared understanding of that, So, we do what you can. You give your life. We're not going to be able to wipe out all suffering, but we can make our life, a living example of what it takes to try to help remedy it.
Sure. We have a little universe that we're responsible for.
Yeah.
And to the degree that we're focused, the ripple of the ripple effect becomes bigger. It's like throwing a bigger rock in the ocean to the degree that we're focused, because we're affecting, it's going on 24/7. What chapter are we on? I'm lost. We're on a different computer here.
We're Canto 4, chapter 28.
28. Okay.
And I think we read 52 yesterday. Yeah, we're on text 53 today.
Alrighty. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamadivriyat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Unmidatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I therefore offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. That's where we're at. Text 52.
Text 53.
Text 53.
So let's get a little recap here, Raghunath, right?
Cap me.
So we are at this very fascinating conversation between a Brahmana who represents God within the heart and the queen who represents, a human being who's suffering the pain of separation of a loved one, right? And the analogy goes deeper, that actually she's the disciple and the husband was the guru, and he's just on his funeral pyre and
Right.
she's watching his body burn. And we mentioned yesterday that we can think about this, that one point is that it's in life's most difficult moments, when one's feeling alone, when one's feeling distraught, that God may come to speak to us in the heart. We may hear that voice.
Mm.
And you and I were discussing yesterday, like how many funeral pyres, of our loved ones have we watched in how many lifetimes, right? How many burials, how many times have we watched a loved one or our own loved one, be placed in the ground and buried or burned? And how many times will that voice speak to us and we'll ignore it, or not, or hear it and then just forget it, and not
Mm.
become determined, to understand what message about life we're meant to be receiving here. So
How many times have we screamed out, "Oh my Lord, please help me,"
yeah,
or
and then you forget it.
want to hear something crazy? I don't know if
Is this related to the topic? Yes.
Well, it's that sort of. It's completely related to it.
Okay.
One of my students, I'm not going to say who,
All right.
but she told me, she's like, Raghunath, I never knew anything about Krishna consciousness or anything like that. But one of my oldest memories is when I was like 10 years old or 8 years old or something like that. I had this dream and I didn't even know what the dream meant at the time, but now it's starting to make sense. She goes, I dreamt I was a woman with shaved head,
Okay.
wearing all white.
Interesting.
And I was walking into a river with my hands in the air crying, Krishna, Krishna.
Okay. That's
Is that crazy? And that was her dream. That was a 10-year-old girl's dream. This
amazing.
girl is in practice. Yeah. And you know what she said to me? She's like, I didn't even know what Krishna was, but I remembered this word Krishna. And I've just remembered it. I remember that dream. And I remember me saying that. I remember what I was wearing. Talk about crying your tears. How many times have we walked into the river crying, oh, Krishna? And you take birth again and you meet devotees.
So what message are we meant to receive and understand at that point? And here in the section, in a relatively short, what is it, about 13, 14 verses, 13 or so verses, we get an encapsulation of what we're meant to understand in life, right? It's kind of a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call from a wake-up call for the soul.
I really thought you were going to be more fascinated at that story. I thought you were going to be like,
I was. What do you want me to do? I think that was totally unbelievable.
I want you to show some emotion.
I did. I was,
Come on. Give me something. Like,
that was
wow, that happened. What a Krishna
That's exactly
miracle.
what I did. Go back and listen to the tape. I said that was amazing. But I'm tying it in. Right?
Okay, all right, I get it. You're trying to weave it together.
Yeah, and so here's the, whoever that person was, it sounds like they were a widow in India in a holy place, right?
Right, calling Krishna.
Maybe they had just taken the ashes of their loved one into the river, very likely, right? Yeah. And so that's a moment that we have all lived many, 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 many lifetimes. If we're buying into what's being said in these ancient books, right? It's saying that we've done that many times. We're likely we're all going to go through it in this life. If we haven't already, we'll go through it again. Maybe if we have. What message is meant to be shared? What's that? They say this. There's a phrase. I don't know if it's a Hindi phrase or Bengali phrase, but there's a phrase of like the realization that one gets at the funeral pyre, right? Like this, like that's called like a funeral realization,
Oh, I mean, it's one thing when we have someone we love die. It's another thing when you watch the body burn. It's like a real sobering, like, oh, that wasn't them. Like that's not them.
You know, if
They're
this
gone.
the samskar, right? We call it a samskar, an impression in the
Yeah.
you know the
Yeah.
word samskar is used to literally, it means, you know, an impression that's made in the mind, right? And it deep into the subconscious mind. But also that word is used in Sanskrit, in Vedic culture, it's used as the way that we would use the word like a rite, you know, like a rite of passage in life, or, you know, like the sacred rites that you perform, right? The sacred rituals
Yeah.
that you perform at different times of
Yeah.
life. They call those samskars, which is really interesting, right? Because through that, imagine if, Raghunath, if like we called our funeral ceremony like the funeral subconscious impression, right? Or if we called, you know, like a wedding ceremony, you know, like the wedding subconscious impression, it really kind of changes the way that you approach the whole thing, and you begin to realize, okay, I
Sure.
get it. In all of the ritual, it's meant to be impressing a certain message in my mind. It's not just there for its own sake,
Right.
or for the sake of it being
Right.
beautiful or something. It has a purpose. There's something that I'm meant to walk away with a deep psychological impression from this. What is that? You know, so they call
Right.
those rites samskars. Isn't it interesting?
Yes. I think it's yeah. You know who's really realized, I think? All of our listeners that are like EMTs, nurses, doctors who are working in the hospital, working in the children care units. Like, Kristen Ryder was with us. It's like she's a nurse. And you're seeing tragedy on a I when do we see tragedy? It's you flick on some new, I mean, maybe I see it more than others because I follow all these like street fight things, but most people don't. You don't see tragedy that much. You see it occasionally. Oh, there's a car accident. What happened? I can't see. They cleaned it up or something like that. But when you're on a regular basis for your job seeing tragedy, and it's exhausting, I'm sure, if you're in that position, it probably is the most sobering job that really sort of penetrates the romance of material existence. Like, this is real.
Hmm.
People are dying. This could be me. This could be somebody I love. This is happening on a regular basis. And when applied with spiritual life, you have a recipe for like self-realization. I'm not saying it's not going to be exhausting and you need to like bounce back and you need to just step away from it sometimes, but when applied with spiritual life, this harshness of material existence can propel us, can trampoline us to higher realizations, and hopefully get us dig our heels into our spiritual life as well.
Okay, now I was working towards a point, Raghunath, all right?
Did I interrupt you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I was brought up, that
Am
was
I
just like
so obtuse that I don't
why
get
why
that?
do you think I even brought up the whole point about what the word samskars? Don't you believe that was going somewhere? Don't you
I could have
think?
sworn it was a pause and we were having a conversation.
No, no, no. That was
No?
building towards something. So I'm
Oh,
saying that the funeral samskar, the funeral ceremony,
yes.
right, in Vedic culture is the burning of the body, as
Mm,
opposed to the burial of the body, right?
yeah.
And and as you were saying, it really is something to sit and watch the body burn, right?
Yeah.
There's that,
Yeah.
and again, there's that Hindi phrase, or I should find out what it is. I don't know if anybody here knows what it is. Put up on the board, but
Smashana Vairagya, that's what Kelly Skinner wrote. I've
what
never
is
heard
it?
that.
What she get?
Smashana Vairagya?
Smashana,
I've never heard
smashana.
of it.
Yeah, but the vairagya is definitely right. Yeah, it's like the renunciation that one feels after watching the body burn. You
Yeah.
watch that, you actually sit and watch the very body that you identified as the person
That
that you had
hair
such
that
a
I've been
connection.
combing and that night
Yeah,
cream I put on before I go to bed.
yeah. You
Right.
actually watch it burn and disappear, and then you
Right.
walk away with a sense of renunciation. What's important in life? What's not
Right.
important in life? Let me let go of what's not important in life. It's powerful, right? And so, okay, so you're letting go of something. You're renouncing something there at the funeral pyre. But what are you meant to be embracing? What truth is it that you're meant to be hearing?
Mhm.
And that's what we get in these verses right here. And maybe I could just read it again, just like briefly, just like in a quick thing, because I think it's worth hearing it like that. And then why don't we dig back into the verse? You want to hear it again, Ragnar?
Please.
Okay, so this
Please.
is what the Paramatma says to the soul as the soul's watching its partner burn. Don't you recognize me? Right?
Yeah.
I'm your eternal friend. you may remember that many times in the past you have consulted with me. You gave up my company and accepted a position as the enjoyer of this material world. You know, imagine saying that to someone as they're suffering, watching their loved one burn, right? You came here to enjoy, but look, look where you're at right now. You gave up my company and you accepted a position as the enjoyer of this material world. We've lived together in the same heart for many thousands of years, and we're still far away from our original home. Since you left me, you've been traveling in different forms throughout this material world. When you enter into a material body, you become overly absorbed in sense enjoyment and forget your spiritual life. And due to your material conceptions, you are placed in various miserable conditions. You are not any of these external identities that you have adopted. By the potency of my illusory energy, you are always shifting your sense of identity from one body to another. You and I are composed of the same spiritual energy, and yet we are individual persons. In this way, we have been living together in the heart. By hearing this from me, you can regain your memory of who you really are. That's the message that comes.
That's everything. That's the whole
It's all
thing.
there,
We could
right?
stop. We could
Mysteries.
stop the podcast right now. That is the absolute truth. Thank you. Good night, everybody. It's been wonderful. Mwah.
Okay. All right. So now we're reading text 53, and you read it, I think, right? The
Yeah.
Brahmana continued, my dear friend, even though you cannot immediately recognize me, did you read it? You can remember that in the past you had a very intimate friend. Unfortunately, you gave up my company to accept a position as enjoyer of this material world. You decided, you know what? I don't need my relationship with you. I would rather try being the enjoyer of the material world, right? So hook me into the machine, right? Give me a body that's got material eyes and material ears and material skin and so on. And I want to go off into that realm, and I want to try to start to play in there. And, you know, you've got your position as kind of the center of everything. I want to try that out for a while. Okay, well, you can enter into the illusion. You can enter into the matrix and give that a try. We'll give you all the equipment that you need, and go ahead, give it a try if you want, you know?
Ever wonder who you were in your last life, Christopher?
Not too much.
Really? It'd be interesting. It's
It
interesting.
would be interesting.
I told you that time about I was talking about reincarnation to a group of yoga students in Houston, and we talk about life is eternal, and we're traveling with different. And one of the ladies raised her hand. She said, and she was very almost distraught. She said, "You know, this makes so much sense. Sometimes my 3-year-old looks at me as if she doesn't know me."
Oh, you go in
And then
here
she
again,
looks
huh?
at me and says, and looks at me, and no,
Episode
listen,
6
listen,
of
listen,
what?
listen, listen.
Okay.
Then she says to me, "Where's my real mom? I want my real mom.
That's
I
heavy.
miss my real mom." And she just starts breaking down in tears, and she tries to run out the door. "I miss my real family."
Wow.
And the mother's like, "I don't know what to do. I'm completely petrified when she breaks into these episodes."
Wow.
Isn't this crazy?
What was that show called again? The
Oh,
Netflix one?
Escaping Death.
Escaping Death, episode 6.
Is it Escaping Death? Conquering Death. Put it on the board, somebody.
But so in any case, let's just look a little bit at the Sanskrit here, Raghunath, okay?
Surviving Death.
Surviving Death.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's Upi Smarsi Chatmanam. Do you remember? Do you remember me, the Supersoul? And he describes himself as Avigyata Sakham. I'm your unknown friend. Right? Like your own. He says, "I'm your friend," right? And then he turns to the person and says, "Oh, Sake, oh friend." This is Hitva Mom, giving me up. You gave me up. You turned your back on me, but still coming back as a friend, right? It's like, again, I think the parent analogy is like maybe the most, apropos, because even you turn your back, they're always ready to take you back in, right?
A good parent will always take you back in. We have to clarify good parent. There's some crazy parents out there. So yeah, good parents always there to love, but the kids just have to do their own thing. And then when they're ready to turn around and say, "You know what, Mom? Thank you." Parents like, "Come on, come here, get on my lap." Give me a hug.
Yeah, I'll take
So
it.
this is our relationship with God as
It's
well.
not the judge. He's not judging at all.
No,
Right?
and always ready to take us back. Always sitting by the phone, so to speak, waiting for us to call.
Mm-hmm.
Krishna, what have I done?
I'm in jail.
Krishna, I've made some horrible choices.
Okay.
What have I done?
Yeah.
What was I thinking? Never say that one. Try
Mm.
not to let that be a regular phrase in your vocabulary. What was I thinking?
Mm.
Better
So he says,
choices, less regrets. This is wisdom of the sages.
okay. So he says, Hitva mom, you hitva, you gave up mom on me. You gave me up, And he says, Param anvichan, because you're desiring a particular position. You want a padam, a certain position in life. What was that position? Bhauma bhoga. What does Bhauma mean?
The earth,
The earth, and bhoga.
enjoyment of
And
this
you
earth.
wanted earthly enjoyments. You wanted those material things in life. You thought that was your path to happiness.
Wow.
And therefore, rataha gataha, you became attached. Right? Now you've developed an inclination to this material world. You want these things, and you want the things that are causing you problems. You want the things that are creating you misery. Now you're attached. I'm saying I'm not judging you, and I'm ready to accept you back at any time. And you're suffering in your illusion, but you're attached to it. You won't let go of it.
I mean, come on. We've all seen situations where we have a good friend going through some incredible pain in a horrible relationship. And you're trying to say, just break up with him. Just break up with him. Like, no, but he really loves me. He's really special. I can help him, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Either it's a bad relationship,
Still some
they're
hope.
very attached to a drug or a career, or
Yeah,
and they
maybe
just
career,
can't see it. And all their good friends have to pull one of these interventions with them. And due to that attachment, we're attached to something that's actually killing us. And so that's the micro in the Fibonacci spiral of things. The macro is that's us and our attachment to matter, identifying with the matter as this will give me joy. No, it's not gonna. No,
doesn't do it.
And
it goes back to the nugget, right?
Goes to the nugget.
The more directly one aims to maximize pleasure and avoid pain. Right? You wanted the position of earthly pleasures. You thought that was your ticket. The more you focus on that, the more likely you produce a life that's bereft of depth, of meaning, and of community, of real happiness, the deeper satisfactions in life.
Sure.
Now, in this commentary, Raghunath, the mysteries of the universe are laid out.
Okay. You got questions about life? Who are we? Why are we here? What are we supposed to be doing in this life? You come to the right place. We can help you here in this report.
You come to the right place.
Don't you feel like the whole 52 for purple, 53 purport?
53.
Don't you feel like some people you feel like saying, stop, you don't have to go to this bookstore. I feel like going up to people who are sitting around, and people sit in a chair at a bookstore just flicking through philosophy books. I feel like going up to people like this, putting my arm around them, say, I can help you. You're not going to get anywhere reading that.
You're going to walk up to people in the aisle. Excuse me.
Help you.
This weird guy walked up to me in the bookstore today. Well, I kind of did that for 13 years of my life.
I did.
Not in bookstores, but I was a walking bookstore.
Oh my God! Straight edge people will.
Hold it, Raghunath, I think you knocked your. Oh no, is that me? Go ahead. Yeah.
Straight edge people will appreciate this. People from the hardcore scene will appreciate this. But when we're first trying to figure out because I was famous when I first became a devotee, and then I just gave it up, and then we figured, well, all these people could be devotees. So me and Kalki had this great idea.
Kalki, yeah.
That we're going to go into, and this was when straight edge was really big. It was like 1989. And we're just going to go into record stores, and I'm going to loiter around the hardcore section.
That's crazy.
Wearing a full dhoti and shaved head. And I would just loiter like I lean against one of the, back then there was no like hardcore record stores. There was just one section that was the hardcore section. And so I lean there, and then he would actually stay by the hardcore section. I'd be sort of off in the corner. And then when we wait for somebody to come in, then we'd be like, and Koki we go, hey, you like hardcore? We'd be like, yeah. You like straight edge?
over there.
Yeah, that's Ray Kappa over there. He's like, you're kidding. Because we're like in Houston, Texas, or something like that. That's Ray Kappa over there.
An orange dhoti and all that.
I was like, yeah, what's up? What's up? He goes, yeah, Ray Kappa's giving a talk. And I would do a talk at the temple, and that's how it worked. It was great.
Wow,
It introduced a
amazing.
lot of people to, it was a little, it was a little weird. We were weird. We were like, I don't know. How do we spread the holy name?
Here's
I
an
had some
idea.
influence. Let's use that. Let's leverage that influence. Those kids
That's
are
pretty
straight edge
funny, though.
anyway. They might like it.
All right.
Still friends with a lot of those guys.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't you read some of the commentary here, Raghunath?
Naveen Arjuna said, did Raghu, did that actually work? Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
Okay. Commentary of text 53.
Yeah.
Ooh, they're going to quote the Bhagavad Gita, 7:27. Ichadvesa smutena dvanva mohena bharata sarva bhutani samohang sargayanti parantapa. O Arjuna, O conqueror of the foes, all living entities are born into delusion. Check. Overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. This is an explanation.
Well, let's say, again, that desire and hate, that hate is a bit of a strong word, but you can say like desire and repulsion, right? We chose to enter into a world. Once you choose to enter into this material world, right, you turn your back, on the super soul, you could say, and say, you know what, I don't want to be the leaf on the tree. I want to see what it's like to be the root of the tree, right? I want it all to revolve around me. Then you enter into the matrix. But the way that the matrix works is that you'll be given a body with senses, and certain things you'll find attractive and certain things you'll find repulsive. And then you adopt this strategy. Let me get as much of the attractive that I can get, and let me avoid the repulsive as much as possible. And that becomes a strategy.
That's a strategy.
But you're kind of stuck in that world of duality. Okay.
Yep. You're in the box. Okay.
This is an explanation.
This is an explanation of how the living entity falls down into the material world. Been there, done that. In the spiritual world, there is no duality, nor is there hate. Hard to believe that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Hard to believe that. When you get a hateful message or meet someone who's hateful, when you get someone that writes you a hateful message.
And I mean, again, I think hate here can just mean repulsion too, right? Like aversion,
Right. But when someone writes you a hateful message, it says so much more about them. When people are hateful,
someone wrote me a hateful message recently.
Really?
It was just almost like, it was just so absurd. It was just like, it's just all in your own mind. You're just like totally spinning this whole thing, and it's hateful.
And it's just
like
the
what
girl
you're
that like the girl that I unfollowed and she got angry with me.
Yeah.
And she wrote me, I just unfollowed her. You know why? Because I'm allowed to. I can unfollow whoever I want. What's up with people nowadays? You're not allowed to unfollow someone? I wasn't even meant to follow you. I somehow just followed you. So I just chose to unfollow somebody, and they wrote me like paragraphs.
Like, what are you doing with your life?
I'm sorry. I don't see you do handstands in a bikini bottom. I apologize. I unfollowed you for that. I'm trying to protect my consciousness from your lower half.
Trying to prevent your lower self.
Well, I'm trying to prevent your lower half from being in the forefront of my
lower self. All right.
I'm allowed to unfollow whomever I want. Do not take it personally, or take it personally. But you don't have to tell me why I'm so bad because of it.
Yeah,
It would be better if I just muted you? Is that better?
Okay, you let go. You sound hateful now, Raghunath. You got to let go. let go.
Well, you know why? Because when someone acts hateful, and she was just vicious in her reply, when someone acts hateful, you want to hate them back. You feel like,
don't hate back,
I got a million retorts to this. Like, how dare you?
Well,
I can unfollow. That's the thing. And you know what? It really says more about their own self-hate.
Well, you
And
know,
what
I'll
do you
tell
do with
something.
hateful people? Do you kick them in the ass? No. First, you
Well,
got to be compassionate. This is what separates the person in a box
sadhus.
from being the spiritual person, the
Okay.
person who's looking over the shoulder at the spiritual light. And so we have to be that. So truthfully, it did. It trained me because I was a little hateful after that hate. Am I going to let hate make me hate? No. We say no.
Well, I'll tell you something,
Pause.
Raghunath. The
What?
here's an illustration of how when you respond to that, how it's so sticky, right? It's like, and what to speak of the age we live in, and the social media and the polarization and all that. It's just made it the
I know
stickiest,
it's
right? So I never respond to our YouTube comments.
YouTube comments.
Yeah,
YouTube comments.
I don't go there, right? I just don't go there.
Don't even read them.
I'll take them down if I think they're
Provocative.
off topic or negative, and negative
Yeah.
towards anyone, negative towards us or to anyone else, right? If you're just bringing negativity, it's just going down, right?
Can someone accuse you of, oh, you just want to hear how great you are?
No, because it's not like it's not just like negativity about like either of us. It's negativity in general, right? Like if you're just bringing some negative message, we don't.
I know. It's like you can have 1,000 great comments. That was great. That was great. That was great. That was great. You're great. And then one, you're the stupidest, most arrogant, big mouth. And it's like, ow.
Okay.
But really, it says more about them. You know,
Well,
you don't, if they're
yeah.
passing you a hot coal and you don't receive it, what happened?
Well, so this is what happened there, Raghunath, and this is just to illustrate. Like, I never touched that stuff. And then someone wrote something the other day, and it was no problem. But someone wrote
What
like,
did they
"Oh,
say?
I wish
What did they say?
Kastuba would have let Raghunath speak about this."
Oh, you know
about
what?
something."
I wrote that in another computer. That was me.
Okay, did you? No, but even that wasn't the one, because I just wrote back and I said like I wasn't trying to stop him from speaking. I'm not sure what made you think I was trying to stop him from speaking about that, you know. And the person was cool. Was like, "Oh yeah, no problem," you know, like.
That was me
Like,
too.
Could,
Yeah, no problem.
okay, but then someone else wrote in and said, "Just see, you know, like these guys."
That was me too. That was me in my third
Yeah.
computer.
Okay, you know, just see these guys and where they're at, and it was just going off on like this rant, and I'm like,
It's
"Holy, what did I do?"
so
You know, like,
angry.
I didn't
What the
even say-
hell? Why are you so angry?
why, you know, but the fact is, you know, and I debated, should I send this little message or maybe just ignore it, because, you know, and again, I'm not upset with anybody. What to speak of the first person that wrote in, right? I just, but should I even respond? And once you respond, it's like
Once you respond, you're in. You're in.
yeah,
You're in it. You know what happened today, Kostuba? Remember
happened?
yesterday we were talking about, you know, walking around Delhi and everyone's trying to sort of scam you, and you say, you can't scam me. I'm the scammer. I'm from New York. And me and
You got
Mara were just
scammed.
being nice to everyone. Hey, where are you going? Hey, where are you staying? Oh, I wouldn't go down here. You know, it's sort of like they're trying to just like get in your head and talk to you.
Oh, that was
And
happening to you? People were doing that
yesterday,
more?
as soon as we got
Okay.
here, that was happening. And I, you know, and Mara being upstate Mara, you know, she's just like talking to everybody. And
You're like, no, Mary, you don't do it that way.
don't do it that way. I'm trying to give her some street smarts. I'm trying to give her some street smarts, and she's not listening. She's like, yeah, sure. Would you like to come up to our room for some tea? I've got. And so I'm what do you call? So today I was just like, you know what I'm going to do?
What are you gonna do?
I'm just going to be mean to everyone. And I went for
No,
early
but
morning.
That's not the answer.
I know it's not the answer, but that's what I chose today. And people are like, hi, what are you doing? Where are you going? You know, the shops are closed. And I was like, I'm going to Mars. I'm going to Mars. Want to come?
We're all gonna.
I know. You know what? I went overboard today. I was just like, I was sick of getting harassed. Every 10, I just wanted to chant my japa. I was doing the big loop around Connaught Place. I wanted to chant a little japa.
Probably
and
not the
everyone
best
that approached
place to
me, I said
chant
I was from Mars.
Raghunath.
That's where I am. That's where I am.
All right.
That's where I am. But it was early. Everybody, nobody was out except these guys who are trying to like divert you. You know, it's almost like they represent the mind, like trying to like pull you in different ways. I was chanting good japa, and they come, hey, where you going? Where you staying? What are you gonna eat today? I know a good place. Can I help you? Can I feed you? Where let me take you somewhere?
I know a better hotel where you can stay.
You got a hotel? I got a place. I got a friend.
Mm.
Anyway, it was like that.
Okay, let go. Or just let it go. Now let's
Upstate
continue with this
Mara.
commentary.
Let's talk. Let's chat.
You know how much I love talking to people, strangers.
Okay. Where are we?
The supreme personality of God expands himself. Okay, so read the sentence that you read last. This is an explanation of how the living entity falls down into the material world.
In order to enjoy,
In the spiritual world, there's no duality.
there's no
nor is there
duality
hate.
or hate. Personality of Godhead expands himself into many in order to enjoy bliss more and more.
Okay,
The
this
supreme-
hold it. Every sentence here, Raghunath, every sentence is like a mystery of the universe.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one, the supreme personality of God expands himself into many. Okay, like in other words, that includes us, right? Like we are an expansion of that one.
Okay.
In order to enjoy bliss more and more, the Supreme Lord expands himself into different energies. So, in other words, we are created for enjoyment, right? For the enjoyment of the Lord in that reciprocal loving relationship back and forth. And so he expands into different, here it says that he expands into different categories, right? Okay, what are those categories?
Oh, it's like
You know, you can keep reading.
Chapter Booge. Oh, you're quizzing me. I thought you were quizzing me. You want me just to shut up and read?
You mean the
I
chapter
can
of
do that
Yuha?
too.
Yeah. Well, one more sentence. Next sentence.
As mentioned in the Varaha Purana, he expands himself into Vishnu Tattva, the Svamsa expansion, and his marginal potency, the Vibhinamsa, or the living entity.
Okay, stop
These-
right there. That's a mystery of the universe. That's a mystery of the
Yes,
universe. Okay,
that
Sphinx.
is.
Do you know what the word angsa means?
Amsa means a part, a tiny part.
So Shvangsa, Shvangsa,
Spangsa,
Sva,
Swamsa,
Angsa.
Swa, Amsa,
So what does Sva mean? Like Svadharma?
Swa, of its own.
Yeah, self or its own. Yeah. So that means if
Pretty
Vishnu
good.
expands into a Shvangsa, it means it's his own part.
Hmm.
Okay. And then Vibhinangsa. Do you know what Vibhin means?
Vibi, Vibi. No, I don't.
It
I
means
don't know what Vibi means.
separated. It means separated.
Okay, Vibi.
So
Vibi
they're
Amsa.
so it's saying that this one supreme origin of everything. And of course, when we talk about this, it's not like there's a day that this happened because we accept these as eternal realities, right?
Sure.
But has expanded, is expanded. Maybe we should say it that way. Is expanded, right? Into these different categories. Some are called Sphangsa. They are parts of him. But within those parts, his Svangsha, his own will is still there, right?
Mm.
So like if he expands it to Balaram, that's a part of his, but it's a part where it's still him operating through it. The will of that being is still Vishnu's own will or Krishna's own will, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the Vibhinangsa are like us, where we're his energy. So we are part of him, but a separated part. We're given our own volition within this, within our fragment.
All right,
Right?
let me finish this because we're almost out of time. It went fast.
Well, this is important stuff. We don't need to finish it.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to finish it. But so
Don't
what
finish this.
but this is a mystery of the universe. This is my point. Are you at all interested or no? You want to just?
It is
wanna
a
do-
mystery. You know what?
Yeah.
I think you are a deep person. And when you hear these things, they ring so true with you. Sometimes I'll read the whole thing. I'm like, I got nothing out of that. And you're like, I got so much.
So let's stay with it. We can work through
You know
this
what? You're like an
together.
archaeologist of Vedic wisdom, Prabhu.
Well,
Kostuba's
you're
an
right here with me.
archaeologist. That's my new shirt. Kostuba's an archaeologist.
I don't see myself as an archaeologist.
You know how to dig. You take something, one of these statements, and you realize the importance of it.
Well, so I'm saying every
You're like an
sentence in these
acharya.
commentaries. I'm not.
Like an-
Acharya. I'm reading from the Acharya. I'm reading. Okay, maybe we can come back to it tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Well,
Do you have any
wow.
takeaways?
That was.
So
that
this
was,
is it. That's it for India this time.
That's it. You know, it says
You'll
that.
be
You know
back
what?
there in
I
less than 2
actually
months.
feel like I'm. You know, it's like no. You know, like you're getting like sucked out of your body. What it must be like to get sucked out of your body. You're pulled into another, or you wake up from a dream and you're like no, or you're falling and you wake up on your bed. Like I feel like it's one of those like help man. And I'm sure everybody. I'm looking at Lori Pag right now and Kylie, and I'm thinking like you're in that spiritual realm, and all of a sudden you're getting sucked back into the material world.
You are always in the spiritual realm.
I understand.
You
that.
are, Raghunath.
But
'cause of your
immediately I'm
consciousness.
going to see if the monitor on my plane works so I can watch a movie. So therefore, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about. I wasn't doing that at Go Over Downhill.
All right.
You understand? There's some Bollywood
Gotcha.
classics I have to catch up on.
What day are you flying back to India?
If I could make a second life for myself, I would be a Bollywood dancer. I kid you not. I used the treadmill today and was watching a Bollywood movie because they just have it big. And these guys, it must be so healthy to dance like that. Healthiest thing you could do, dancing.
I think you could do better. I think you aim higher. Okay.
Ready for takeaways?
Okay.
Okay.
Mara's trying to
Aim higher.
picture me as a Bollywood dancer now. She's stomach's turning.
Who will I plow through in the name of comfort?
Ooh.
Plow through. Oh.
Wow.
Try to do for one what you'd like to do for many.
Oh.
Okay.
The haves aren't necessarily happier.
Not necessarily.
Knowledge can make you content in a miserable situation.
For sure.
Understand
day.
the spiritual equality of every living being and manifest it practically.
Manifest.
Renunciation comes from the funeral pyre.
Yeah. It's a phrase for that.
Krishna is always waiting for us to return.
Just
Waiting by the phone.
There's no hate in the spiritual world.
Mm-mm.
We're allowed to unfollow whoever we want.
We're allowed. We're
That's
allowed
for
to
sure.
do it. I'm going to follow. Yeah, we are. Get off my back.
And
And
Kastuba is an archaeologist.
I'm not
an
an
archaeologist.
I never had any interest in
Ah.
archaeology.
You're digging for deeper things, Kastuba.
Digging.
Treasures.
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? What else do we get today? I got some high quality A2 grass-fed cow ghee. Boom.